Athletics announced Sunday that the program would be parting ways with head coach Billy Napier in his 4th year with the program. We've been bringing you coverage all weekend of the breaking news regarding John Summerall being named the 31st head coach of the Florida Gators. Olivia Eisenhauer, Steve Russell, Graham Hall, Zach Albaverdi, we're all around the situation that is occurring in his 4th season, 22-23, since being hired in November 2021, 12-16 in the SEC. Looking back for all of you, what sticks out to you most during his tenure? Texas has been, frankly, less than stellar than you'd expect with Arch Manning and everything this season. So where can the Gators capitalize moving forward? Coming from Tennessee as a freshman, ended up starting as a sophomore as a Gator, and then, of course, winning a Heisman. Can you kind of walk me through what the tone of Gator football was at that point?
Back then, well, our stadium seated, I think, about 40,000, and we pretty much packed it. Students section, obviously not near as big as it is now, but fans came, and the south end zone was bleachers. So when I kicked that field goal, it went up into the bleachers. There was no stadium connecting at that time.
When you took that job in 1990, could you envision your trophy case and your time as a Gators head coach could amount to what it did?
Yeah, in hindsight, we should have done more. That's what some of my players, Kevin Carter, one time, I saw him a few years back, 4 or 5 years back. He said, "Coach, we won 3 SECs in 4 years. And then when I went to the pros and for next 5, 10 years, whatever, he said, man, we could have won a national. We could have won another SEC, blah, blah, blah. But now in hindsight, he said, seeing that they've only won 2, urban teams won 2, and 2 nationals, of course. He said, I guess we did pretty good. He said, we won 3 out of 4 years. And I said, in hindsight, that's pretty good. But yeah, we expected it. We visualized it.
Looking back at your career, what are you proudest of as a coach?
Proud of all the teams were competitive, just about. Yeah, not a lot of ups and downs. I get often asked, Coach, what did you do when your team was like 4-6 or something? And I said, well, our college teams weren't 4-6. My pro team might have been that.
Of course, Lagway, a sophomore this season. I don't know if you've had a chance to speak to him directly, but if you were to give him some coaching advice right now as your stellar sophomore season as a Gator as well, what would it be?
I don't think he's been as healthy as we hoped he would have been this year, because he's starting to run a little bit more now, but early in the year, he wasn't running much at all. And that is really helpful to the offense.
Of course, Steve Spurrier Jr., your own son, is on the sideline for the Gators now, working hand in hand with Lagway, but on the offensive side of the ball. What are conversations like right now between you and your son, and can you speak to the job he's done?
He's just involved in the offense a bit there. And Billy Gonzalez, I think, has done a good job these games, but we're not really playing great. We're playing decent, just good enough to get beat right now. But hopefully we can close it out.
Every single Heisman winner here is a pastor's son. What foundation of faith does it play in Florida football?
Oh, it plays a big part in all of our lives. Certainly my dad was a Presbyterian minister in some small towns in East Tennessee. Get a pretty good education, I guess, to have the opportunity to come to the University of Florida. So I know I've been blessed, just like Danny Warfel and Tim Tebow would tell you. We've all certainly been blessed.
There is a standard that comes with Florida Gator football, a standard in history of greatness, to say the least, one that John Summerall is ready to embrace.
You know, at the University of Florida, we measure ourselves by one thing, and that's winning. Above all else, we are looking for someone who approaches winning the same way the University of Florida does, as a daily, non-negotiable requirement. From our very first conversation, John Summerall stood out. His clarity, his urgency, his competitive mindset was unmistakable. He didn't just tiptoe around expectations, he leaned into them. He talked about winning a lot with a conviction that stood out.
The 31st head coach in program history, Summerall, was introduced and made his Gator debut today and understands just that, bringing an infectious energy, passion, and a winning history. And it speaks volumes that the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier himself, wouldn't miss the introduction. It wasn't at the last introduction of a Gator football head coach.
To the Florida football family, It's got to start with Coach Spurrier and Urban Meyer. Are you kidding me? Like, I get to stand in the same spot and do the same job as two absolute legends in the football community together to win championships. I love your passion and your enthusiasm. 18 straight sellouts here in the Swamp. That streak's not going to end anytime soon. We need to build upon that. But that passion and enthusiasm, the fire, that's part of what attracted me here, because I'm wired the same way.
In a crazy coaching carousel, Florida found their man, but more importantly, Summerall and his family chose the Gators.
We had options. We had choices. My wife and I, we sat down and we chose Florida. We made that decision. Florida had to choose us, but we chose it back.
Summerall repeating several times, "We will win." The fifth winningest head coach in FBS right now. The Gators have gotten their guy, and there's no doubt Summerall is built for it.
A blue-collar mindset and a chip on our shoulder. We will be tough. We will have grit. We will not be outworked. We will play with passion and physicality.
And one last promise to look forward to when the Gators take the gridiron next.
Just like around here, when we go to the fourth quarter, we sing, "I won't back down. I won't back down. I will never back down." The Florida Gators, we will not back down. Go Gators.
It was certainly a great day to be a Gator. Reporting from Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, I'm Olivia Eisenhauer, TV 20 Sports. Pleasure to sit down with a couple of women that you don't see with Florida football but help make Florida football. Katie Turner, the assistant AD of recruiting strategy, led the charge behind a top 15 recruiting class in 2023 and top 10 from 2024 to 2026. More on the recruiting face of the Gators.
It all started, my dad was a little league coach. I would hang out with him and I would run around with the players and I would love to throw the football. Being from Buffalo, we're diehard Bills fans, diehard. And he had season tickets for 30 years. That's kind of where it all started. That was the catalyst. That was that feeling that I get going to the games and the memories and the traditions. That really stands out to me.
Was there a moment in a Bills game or something that you're like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do with my life? Or what was that kind of pivotal moment for you?
Yeah, I would say I knew I loved it, but I didn't really know if there was a path for me in football. And I think it really started when I went to the University of Alabama for college. Mm-hmm. There was an application that came out to be a student volunteer. And so I applied, but seeing my supervisor, she was the one making all the itineraries and delegating it out to all of us. And she was really making it's a puzzle, and she was making all the pieces fit of, okay, you're going here at this time, you're going to academics at this time. I need you to bring him back, and he's going to be meeting with the running backs coach, and then he has a meeting with Coach Saban at this time, and she was delegating it to 7 of us at one time, but I loved that. That seemed I was like, I can do this.
At Alabama,
yes,
as a student, all your recruiting classes were #1 recruiting classes, and you fast forward till now, where the Gators, this season they had a top 15.
Yes.
Next season they have a top 10, and the season after they have a top 10 recruiting class as well. How do your skills translate? How are you able to make that happen? Because that's incredibly impressive.
I would say it kind of goes back to just trying to think ahead and trying to be ahead of the curve. You definitely need a lot of support around you to make sure that the product that you are selling to these recruits and their families is top notch. But then once it's a level playing field and you all have kind of the same things, I think it really does go back to just the people.
What is the primary difference in the landscape now with transfer portal? I mean, you look at J. Michael Sturdivant, all these huge recruits coming in. What's the primary difference between recruiting someone out of high school and recruiting a transfer portal?
I'm smiling because they are so opposite. So out of high school, it's really rolling out the red carpet, and I mean, every competitive advantage that you could think of, you are thinking outside the box to really try to win this recruit over. Whereas in the transfer portal, it is such a business decision.
How important is it to have a brand like Florida and playing in the SEC, because it does mean more in recruiting, and how much easier does it make your job?
And I think that, of course, yes, the SEC, it's just in my opinion, a no-brainer, but I'm also biased to that. You know, that competition that you're getting every single week, it is a tough game. And so I think that those recruits that are, you know, they're wired that way, that's who comes to the SEC, where they want to play against the best and they want to be in the best conference. And that's the kind of guys we want on our team too, you know.
And what does it mean to you to be a female face of the Florida brand and recruiting?
Yeah, I am so humbled. I just really, really want to make Gator Nation proud. I really want to make Coach Napier proud. And I think that it just goes back to that, like, I'm just working so hard and I just want us to see results, and I want us to, I just want people to be proud of like what we're doing here.
And Savannah Bailey, the Senior Director of Player Relations in GatorMate, a player-focused initiative to develop each football team member in the Swamp and beyond. So first of all, you're entering your 4th season here. What has changed the most since the day you stepped through the door to now?
Well, you know, we stepped in right as transfer portal, NIL, everything was new. And I think, to me, the thing that's most changed from the student perspective has been buy-in. That, to me, is pivotal to the success of the program. And so having that trust in our coaches and our staff and each other, that, to me, is what propagates a successful season. And so to see those steps be taken, you know, in spaces that people have no idea it's happening, I would say is the biggest change.
And can you kind of walk me through your day-to-day, what that looks like? Because you have such a broad title, and I'm sure it changes every single day.
No day is the same, because you're dealing with 120 individuals that are all at different levels, that have lives totally separate from each other, but are expected to do everything as a team, right? And so you have to approach it from an individualistic side of what does that person need? How can I meet them where they're at, whether it's in something educational based or personal or maturity, social, emotional intelligence, all of those things. The last thing that I want for any player is to not know what to do when their time is done playing. My job is to make sure they have what they need. Those players have what they need. The alum have great transitions.
You've spoken extensively on the culture that Napier and kind of just that Gator culture in general in this building and outside of this building. But what does it mean to you to be a female in this program?
I think it means that I'm trusted to do my job. I have a lot of autonomy. I get to provide a lot of perspective. I see it as a great honor to represent a lot of really incredible young people and a lot of really incredible alumni. And if I'm something that can connect those two or connect those three or, you know, provide opportunities in something else, that's a big deal.
Because Gilligan was a big part of that run in itself. Yeah. Who has kind of stepped up to fill that like steady role?
Yeah, it's been kind of a team effort. You know, Luke Poulter and Zach Swanwick and Jack have really kind of taken that lead. And then, you know, I don't want to ever call him a surprise because he's so talented, but Parker Bell had a really rough junior year, you know, for his standards, and he was incredible for us this fall. So really happy that he got to have his big moment at the East Lake Cup. You know, we kind of were riding on his shoulders there in that final match against Virginia, and he stepped up against one of the best players in the world.
It is certainly turning with first-year head coach Liam Cohen, a 3-1 Jacksonville Jaguars team coming home after a big trip to the Bay against the 49ers, and a 2-2 Kansas City team that has won 2 in a row. The stage is set for Monday Night Football. The Jags team has never beaten Kansas City in the Mahomes era, but I have a couple of keys that could flip the script in the AFC tonight. First is Jaguars defense leads the NFL in takeaways and at 13, and that's more than Jaguars had all of last season. Jacksonville is a turnover machine, to say the least, forcing at least 3 takeaways each individual game so far, also leading the NFL in turnover differential. Also, Jacksonville has turned around the run game under offensive-minded Liam Cohen, the 4th highest total in the NFL for run game. Chiefs' rush defense is ranked very low, a weakness for Kansas City, and I think QB Trevor Lawrence probably said it best that where else would you rather be tonight, and I'd have to agree. For TB20 Sports, I'm Olivia Eisenhauer.